Would you like me to sort your delivery?
You are generous as you are divine, oh booty queens.
I don't give a damn what you're entitled to. So if you don't like it, you can take back your food and your castle and right off.
You should treat books with more respect.
Welcome to Mystery Pony Fiction, hosted by the Mystery Fluttershy fan.
Question number 147. What happens now? Giggling with mischievous excitement, Sunny and Izzy, having realised their compromising position out in the middle of the field, disentangled themselves from one another as they hurriedly cantered towards the lighthouse's front door. Despite the grave structural damage that much of it had received from Sprout's ridiculous machine, notably the complete loss of the spire, the ground floor had largely endured. Or at the very least, the side of it containing a bedroom had, which was good enough for the both of them, at least for tonight. Moving swiftly past the accumulated Cantor-logic destruction equipment that surrounded her home in preparation for its reconstruction, the two mares darted beneath the buckled front canopy and through the front door, as it swung shut heavily behind her. Sunny reflexively turned to the space next to the door and straightened out the little picture frame containing her most cherished photograph. As hastily taped together as it now was, it had been swiftly returned to its dutiful pride of place near the front door when clean-up operations began earlier that day. Her gaze faltered as it wandered to the cracked walls of her kitchen, a grisly scar in her childhood home serving as a testament to the results of Sprout's foolhardy power-mongering. Much like Sunny herself though, her home was Earth Pony strong. It would take more than a mama's cult, wannabe dictator pony to completely ruin her day, or her house. That the entire place had stood up well as it had was nothing short of a miracle, but that was a topic for a time where she didn't have her drop-dead gorgeous unicorn mare friend. She could still scarcely believe it. A unicorn! Leaning adoringly against her as they strode side by side through the doorway to Sunny's bedroom. The moment that the orange mare passed through that wooden portal, it was as if a switch had been flipped. She hastily removed the bands holding her mane in place and flung the constraining articles onto her vanity with the barest hint of care, tossing her mane like a wannabe rock star to free it of its constrained shapes. Her saddlebag was discarded onto the back of her chair as she trotted over to the shelf that still proudly displayed the nightlight her father had made for her. Though she'd felt it a bit too childish to use the wonderful little construction in recent years, now she displayed it much more prominently, considering it had ended up being instrumental in the reactivation of Equestria's magic, or at the very least the gem that was installed on top of it had been. The very same Earth Diamond now rested there once more, although it had gained inclusions of a spectacular rainbow shimmer ever since its reactivation. It may have seemed odd to continue using such a powerful and significant artifact for something so improper, but Sunny had been its steward for most of her life, whether she was aware of it or not. And for now, it had fulfilled its primary purpose in bringing back the magic of Equestria. The lock to her room clicked shut behind her, drawing her attention back to Izzy as the unicorn cheerfully surveyed her cozy room with unabashed enthusiasm. Sunny realised that Izzy may well have been the first pony she'd let into her most private place since the loss of her father. But as scary as the prospect of such vulnerability was, she could think of no other pony she'd allow so readily into her space. "So, what do you think of my room? Cozy, right?" Sunny asked eagerly, taking the smile on the other unicorn's face as a good sign. "It's so lovely! Oh, but not as lovely as that wild mane you've got going on. You should wear your mane down more often. It looks totally cute," Izzy teased, giggling as she beheld the embarrassed flush that the little earth mare took on in response to her shameless flattery. "Or is," Sunny replied bashfully, batting her hoof in the other mare's direction. With Izzy watching curiously from behind her, she sat down and took the nightlight in both hooves to crank over its winder. That familiar twinkling lullaby echoed through her room as the device lit up and started to rotate in her hooves. With the diamond's new inclusions, the night light's usual projections gained a brilliant rainbow hue, a startling contrast that caused even Sunny herself to gasp in amazement. Izzy was similarly blown away by the radiant spectre of colours that projected themselves all over Sunny's wall and ceiling, though she couldn't have known how it had looked originally with its muted, incandescent hue. As Sunny put the nightlight back onto the shelf and turned to face Izzy once again, the two of them exchanged a warm smile before Izzy abruptly glomped her onto the bed, giggling mischievously as Sunny gave her a brief yelp of surprise, which trailed off into a gasping moan as Izzy nuzzled against her, nibbling teeth and lathering tongue markings, a lascivious trail up her body as the unicorn grazed upon her enraptured prey. A heavy warm fullness settled in Sunny's gut as her eyes lidded, once dormant parts of her beginning to stir into life underneath Izzy's loving ministrations. As Sunny started up the enchanting light show, only half aware of her surroundings, thanks to her mare friend's relentless affections, a flashlight slammed into her like a speeding streetcar.
Can we send it?
I think it's our duty.
An early arts and crafts project of her foalhood, the tiny little drawing of the 3 pony racers living in harmony that she'd made for that fateful lantern letter, so long ago that it felt like another life entirely. That unassuming, hopeful little drawing had ended up changing everything. Had she never met Izzy, Equestria might never have been saved. Memories of her fillyhood whirled past her in a storm of emotions, each of them jabbing into her like pins and needles as a bittersweet nostalgia filled her. Izzy must have felt the way that Sunny had stiffened underneath her because her ministration stopped as she abruptly pulled back, concern filling her visage as she moved to lay alongside her friend, embracing one of Sunny's hooves with her own.
We'll do our part, hoof to heart.
Good night, Daddy.
Good night, my little pony.
Jarred out of her flashback by a chaste kiss on the cheek, the beginnings of tears, and the stinging ache in her chest from that well-worn familiar sorrow quickly ebbed away in the comforting embrace of the gorgeous, sweet-smelling, wonderfully funny unicorn that very same note had brought right to her doorstep. Countless moons after she'd thought it lost to the winds. In a way, Sunny supposed Izzy had been the greatest gift her dad had ever given her. "Hey, you've been awfully quiet since we came in. Are you feeling alright? I hope I'm not moving too fast for you, am I? Because if I am, we can totally slow it down." Izzy's anxious rambling was stopped by Sunny's raised hoof against her lips, the earth pony smiling beautifully at her mare friend as she giggled happily. "Oh, no, that's not why. I'm just so happy. If some pony told me 2 weeks ago that I'd be here with you, a unicorn on my bed, after we'd just reunified Equestria, I'd have looked at them like they were totally nuts. I still can't even really believe it," Sunny said calmly as she caressed Izzy's cheek with a hoof. "Or, to be honest, I'm having trouble believing this isn't part of a dream myself," Izzy replied warmly. Her eyes slid closed as their muzzles met once more, a simple kiss on the lips to reaffirm their shared emotion. After a few moments of them simply enjoying each other's presence in comfortable silence, Sunny asked another question she remembered from her list, one that, until recently, she didn't think she'd ever get to. Number 147. "So what happens? Now that we're together, I mean. I guess that depends on what you want to happen, Sonny. I could think of a few things myself, Izzy purred, her forehoof tracking ticklish circles onto Sonny's underside that had her giggling and writhing even as she blushed and retreated into herself a bit, her self-conscious about her lack of experience catching up with her. Wrapping Sonny tighter in a comforting embrace, she continued, "But I'm not going to do that kind of stuff with you until you're done, good, and ready to do it, alright? Thanks, Izzy. You're wonderful, you know that." Sonny replied warmly, maintaining eye contact with Izzy as the unicorn's adventurous hoof stilled itself by curving around her barrel. "Oh, I try," she boasted casually, although it only took a moment for her to burst out giggling afterward. A giggle fit, which Sonny happily joined in on, the two of them nuzzling firmly into each other as their tails, both hanging off the edge of Sonny's bed, entwined. As that familiar, twinkling lullaby continued to echo from the music box inside Sonny's nightlight, the two mares found themselves drifting off to a peaceful slumber together, under Sonny's roof beneath the cool night sky of a newly transformed Equestria. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider joining my Patreon, patreon.com/TMFF, to get early access to audiobooks and to be able to request I do a reading of what you want, provided the author approves. Thank you to artlist.io for providing the massive music and sound effect library that I have to work with. And most of all, thank you to the bronies who write the amazing stories that inspire me to make these. Fluttershy and Izzy are best ponies. I now have a Discord server where you can join in and chat with other fanfiction fans. If you enjoy what I do, you can donate to me on Ko-Fi, links in the description.